Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be. Whoever you may be, to you I say, Shalom, Mashallah, Shalom. Alright, we're going to get into the book of 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. And as we mentioned the last time, we went through the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, because that was the split of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, and why and how it would happen. Alright. And so today we're going to get into 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, which is dealing with you so-called Spanish speaking tribes, Latin tribes, or whatever have you will. All right, but you are the Israelites of the Bible of the northern kingdom of Israel, who had the capital in Samaria after the split that we read about in 1 Kings, the 11th chapter. So let's get into it. All right, so I'm not sure if we'll read the NLT or the KJV. I guess we'll read the KJV. We'll just, as needed. So in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. All right. In the 12th year of Ahaz, year of Ahaz, king of Judah, Hoshea, the son of Elah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Now, a little side note, this is not a direct jump from 1 Kings, the 11th chapter, because Solomon's servant Jeroboam is the one who took over as the first leader of the northern kingdom of Israel, and of that southern kingdom was Solomon's son Rehoboam. So this is not a direct jump from 1 Kings 11 and from Jeroboam to here. All right, but this is this is actually the end of all those different kings that reigned of the northern kingdom of Israel. This is around the time period of what, there's a window maybe like 727 to 722, but in particular 722. All right, it says verse 3 says, and against him came up Shalmaneser, which this was Shalmaneser the fifth. Okay, Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. Because there's, I believe, like six. I think there's like six. Let me see. We'll pull them up. Shalmaneser the fifth. Okay, yep, Assyrian. His name means fire worshiper. All right. Shalmaneser, Assyrian king who probably reigned between Tiglath-Pileser and Sargon. Okay, so and that's two I was going to mention. I believe there's like six. Assyrian kings mentioned in the Bible that coincide with our history, as we're reading right here now. Shalmaneser the fifth. Then there's Tiglath-Pileser the third. That's Sargon the second. I believe that it was Esarhaddon, Evil Merodach, and someone else, I believe so. I believe there were about six though. So it says they invaded the northern kingdom of Israel when the last king Hoshea was on the throne. See, the last king, this was the end of the northern kingdom. All right, forced Hoshea to pay tribute, but had to re-invade when Hoshea renegade. All right, I'm sorry, renegade, reneged. All right. It is, well, I guess he did go renegade on him. It is uncertain whether Shalmaneser or Sargon concluded the siege, which finally ended the northern kingdom. All right. So it also says maybe a common name for Assyrian kings in the 8th century BC, which that's really across the board. There's a lot of individuals who go by a particular name, but it wasn't like their name alone. All right. It was an overall name. Just kind of like with Caesar's, right? Caesar was taken as an overall name, okay, for those that came after Julius Caesar. So going back, it says against him came up Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents, as we just read, right? And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt. Right, talking about Hoshea. Hoshea sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. So basically, I mean, I guess it's obviously how he was found out, because he stopped paying his tribute. Okay, which I guess if he really wanted to, I mean, it's all according to prophecy, but just make it a point. If he really wanted to trick him, he should have kept paying tribute while he dealt with, trying to deal with So. But this is how the story goes, though. So and it says therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. So he stopped sending his tribute and started dealing with So, king of Egypt. So him not paying the tribute was probably what got the attention on him. And then the conspiracy was, it was found out that he was dealing with, or attempting to deal with, So, king of Egypt. All right. The NLT says, but Hoshea stopped paying the annual tribute and conspired against the king of Assyria by asking King So of Egypt to help him shake free of Assyria's power. See? When the king of Assyria discovered this treachery, he seized Hoshea and put him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. So they staged an attack, and this initial phase was 3 years. All right, because when you besiege, because you can besiege a place for a while, because maybe if someone has a stronghold where you just can't seem to penetrate, and you're probably drawing up plans every single day. How can we penetrate this fortress? How can we get in? Can we dig through here? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we bust through some way? Can we destroy the integrity of the doors or the walls or something, and eventually break through? So it took a while. You needed food. Okay. Verse 6 says, in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. And you know what? I actually want to do this because I did it last time. Let me see if I can real quick. Habor and Gozan. Let me see here. Alright, Habor, and adjoining a tributary of the Euphrates River in Assyria. Alright, and then Gozan, okay, cutting off the Mesopotamian city on or near the middle of the Euphrates, where exiled Israelites were settled. Excuse me. Now, I'm not sure if we'll be able to get it, but let me see if I can do this. I'll pull up a Google Earth real quick, because I did this the last time. Well, not last time, but once before. Let's see if we can circle the globe here. Let me turn it around so I can see what I'm looking at here. Hold on. Get this thing right. Alright, turn you over. Okay. Maybe we'll do like, there we go. Yeah, that's even better. Alright, so Euphrates. Zooming in on our own. So right there, you can see. I'm not sure they actually show the name of the river. So let's see if we'll river. I might actually have to punch it in here, because I wanted it to show. I'm not sure if it'll pull up rivers and stuff like that. Let's type up Euphrates. We're already right here. River in Asia. Notice it says Asia, right? And there was one below that says Iraq. Or yeah, you got Iraq. So he's showing the up there. Euphrates River. See Euphrates River here. There's some pictures here. Beautiful river, I see, or at least what it travels through. And this goes all the way up into Turkey. Beautiful water. Little turquoise color almost. Okay, dudes, women too. Alright, so let's drop this. Oh wait, no, I wanna grab. Yeah, there you go. I wanna drop that. So it didn't give us the opening here, but pretty much because I'm not sure if I can change the map things. Map, satellite, maybe just a regular map. We can see it. If not, we'll go back to satellite. Oh no, that's not good for my eyes. So yeah, we'll just go back to the regular satellite. Oh, wait a minute. And we can still get the point off. Oh, we have to pull it back up. Okay, it just. All right, so we'll do this. So, or you know what? We may be able to just do it through the regular Google. Because what I was going to show you here is obviously not exact location, but where this could have took place, because I want you to be able to see those rivers. So let's do this. Let's drop Google Earth. Okay, and go back over here. Are we still ticking? I just saw that message come up. Okay, we're ticking. Just give this a second here. Okay. Alright, so let's do this. Yep. We'll pull up one of these Habor, or goes on. One of these. Let's show one. Okay, Hala. Place them in Hala and in Habor. Alright. By the river Gozan. So Hala and Habor are the cities they were placed into. A city or district in Mesopotamia under Assyrian control, where the Israelites were taken captive. Alright, I believe we pull up Habor. Okay, yeah, tributary of the Euphrates River in Syria. Okay, so it says by the river of Gozan. So we'll do off of Gozan. Alright, and see if we can pull up Gozan. Gawazan in Hebrew. And so we can pull up another map. See if we can get it this way. Okay, that may actually work. Yep, we'll just use that one. That may actually work right here. So this is what I wanted to show you, when I was trying to use the Google Earth. So you see the Persian Gulf, bottom, well, I guess it's about a little bit lower than midway screen, but of this map here, bottom right. And so you have the Euphrates and the Tigris. All right, the Tigris is the one furthest east. Notice how there's a bunch of other lines here, because those are also bodies of water, rivers of water. Okay, but the main ones are the Euphrates and the Tigris. So the Euphrates, Tigris both come from here. And when you look at where Gozan is, all right, it says they were placed in Hala and Habor by the river of Gozan. So this has to be a general area here where the Israelites were, because we're gonna go to 2 Ezra 13 and talk about this, where they it mentions how's it worded? It says like mainly through this country or something like that. Okay, but the point I'm making is how they had to jump into these other bodies of water to get into the Euphrates, and then down to the Persian Gulf, and then out, to sea. So bear with me. All right, so yeah. So he's talking about them jumping into this body of water, all right, to get into the Euphrates, emptying into the Euphrates. Look, you see the arrow pointing that says had the Habor River. So general area. That's why it says Israelite settlements. Jumped into the Habor, emptied into the Euphrates. The Euphrates runs all the way south. Okay, southeast into the Persian Gulf. All right, and then into the bigger waters. And as I said, we're going to cover this as we go to 2 Ezra, the 13th chapter. So for now, I'm gonna pull this back up, and you'll see why that was important. Why I wanted to show you that, because you can so hopefully kind of get a visual of what it is that we're reading here. All right. Okay. So. Yep. Placed them in Hala and Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. So the northern kingdom of Israelites were removed from Samaria and taken into the lands, deeper into the lands of the Medes, and they were settled there. All right, and we were slaves there. And then as we read on, it tells you what happened to Samaria, the area of Samaria. So why? But first it tells you about why Israel fell. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord Yahweh their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and that feared other gods. You see? It says, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom Yahweh cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against their Lord, Yahweh with their power. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. So in the reign of the kings of the northern kingdom of Israel, this is what was happening. All right, them going off, idol worship. Okay, so if you're the northern tribes, this is part of your history here. Okay, so you have no reason to be bucking up or nothing like that. None of us do, because we all should be dead for transgressing the blood covenant that we made with the Lord. All right, everybody went off, and it's going to tell us that. I believe it reads that somewhere here. It has been a while since I read this whole chapter. But it says, and they set them up images and groves in every high hill, under every green tree, places of worship to these false gods. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen, whom the Lord Yahweh carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke their Lord Yahweh to anger. For they served idols, see, whereof Yahweh had said unto them, ye shall not do this thing. All the way back to Exodus 20, you should not have no other gods before me. It goes on to say that I'm a jealous power. Yet the Lord Yahweh testified against Israel and against Judah, all right, the southern kingdom, all right, against the north and the south, by all the prophets, you see, by all the prophets, and by all the seers, pretty much the same thing. Prophets are called seers, all right. I believe the word is ra'ayim for seers, okay, in the Hebrew, because ra'ah means to see, and yam is plural. I think that's right, and I use that sometime, that word, so I think that's right. But anyways, all right, the prophets and of all the seers, because the prophets weren't called seers, so like I said, it's the same thing, saying, turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. NLT. And again, the Lord Yahweh has sent his prophets and seers to warn both Israel and Judah, because you have prophets that prophesy to the north, prophets that prophesy to the south. Turn from all your evil ways, obey my commands and decrees, the entire law that I commanded your ancestors to obey, and that I gave you through my servants the prophets. But the Israelites would not listen. They were as stubborn as their ancestors, who had refused to believe in the Lord their God. KJV, notwithstanding, they were not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers that did not believe in the Lord Yahweh their power. And even in the New Testament, around Yahweh's time, he says, you do always resist the Holy Spirit, as did your fathers. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he had testified against them. And they followed vanity, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord Yahweh had charged them that they should not do like them. See? Let me read the NLT. They rejected his decrees and the covenant he had made with their ancestors, and they despised all his warnings. They worshipped worthless idols, so they became worthless themselves. They followed the example of the nations around them, disobeying the Lord's command not to imitate them. They rejected all the commands of the Lord their power, and made 2 cows for metal. They set up an Asherah pole and worshiped Baal and all the forces of heaven. KJV. And they left all the commandments of the Lord Yahweh their power, and made them molten images, even 2 cows, and made a grove, and worshiped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. And we mentioned that before, that one of the first things and going off that Jeroboam did was he set up the golden calves, one in Dan and one in Bethel. All right. So at the start of the northern kingdom, they were already been led astray, and they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire. See, not only did they fall to worshiping false gods and idols, but also the rituals that are associated with them. All right, and this is child sacrifice by fire, and use divination and enchantments, which the Lord tells us not to do. Excuse me. And sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. NLT says they even sacrificed their own sons and daughters in the fire, They consulted fortune tellers and practiced sorcery and sold themselves to do evil, arousing the Lord's anger. And when you look into the history of the northern kingdoms, when they came over to the Americas, South, Central, and Northern America, what were they doing? All kinds of, great spirits, animals and birds. Mesoamerica, you had them, cutting out hearts, observing the eclipses and all those different things like that, and taking holidays to them things, and just all kinds of madness, all right, going off. Okay. The Northern Kingdom went totally off over there, and when they came to the Americas, and the scriptures speak about that. Actually, I think that's in 2 13, which we'll have to cover in a separate session, because my battery's dying. I don't think we'll be able to cover that, what we want to cover, all right, in this one session here, because I'm going to do the whole chapter. So therefore, the Lord Yahweh was very angry with Israel. The Northern Kingdom is talking about when it says Israel. It says it's mentioning, it's referring to the Northern Kingdom, and removed them out of his sight by what? Captivity. Okay, the Assyrian captivity, which is also mentioned in Daniel the 7th chapter. Okay, it mentions the captivities that Judah went into, starting with the Babylonians, the Medo-Persian Empire, which the Medes, the Persians, but the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greeks, and the Romans. And the ones that took the Assyrians out of power were the coalition of the Babylonians, along with the who was it? I forget. I think it was the Medes. Okay. And then they became sort of separate empires there. And then eventually the Medes and the Persians got together, had the Medo-Persian Empire, and they're the ones who took Babylon out of the way. All right. But the Assyrians are the ones who were removed out of the way by Babylon. All right. And so which, if I'm correct, it never really specifies how the Northern Kingdom really came to being free. But I'm pretty sure at the downfall of the Assyrian Empire may have been a major factor in that, because some way or another they ended up leaving out of the Assyrian captivity and then coming over to the Americas. All right, but let's keep going. So verse 18, therefore the Lord Yahweh was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. All right, because the southern kingdom was down there. They had the capital in Jerusalem. The northern kingdom had been taken away, all right, into captivity by the Assyrians. Also Judah. Now it's talking about the southern kingdom. Also Judah kept not the commandments. The Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, southern kingdom of Judah, of the Lord Yahweh their power, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And Yahweh rejected all the seed of Israel. See, this is what the churches are coming and say, see, the Lord, he rejected all of Israel. Well, replacement theology or supersession is not written in the scriptures. In Jeremiah 31, we always grab, all right, tells you that as long as there's a sun and the moon and the stars, we will always be his people. And it says the same thing in the book of Romans. Has the Lord cast off his people, which he foreknew? God forbid. He have not cast off Israel. For all we've done, he's not cast us away. But that's the whole point of a remnant. So Yahweh rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. Who are the spoilers? Heathen nations. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord Yahweh and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. See? Until the Lord Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. Now, when it says unto this day, it's not talking about real time. It's just, at this particular time period here in history. Now, if you go down here to the next portion here, NLT says foreigners settled in Israel. KJV says cities of Israel filled with strangers. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, because remember, the northern kingdom, you northern kingdom Israelites were removed into captivity from out of Samaria into Halah and Habor by the river Gozan in the land of the Medes, which is modern day Iraq, okay? And then heathens were moved into Samaria, into your land, which plays a major part actually in the New Testament. Okay, where you get the Sumerian woman. She was a heathen, not an Israelite. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, because you were taken away out of the land. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the God of the land. So these heathens that were brought into the land didn't know the manner, all right, and the customs of the land that belonged to the Lord. Okay, Deuteronomy 11 and 12 says that the Lord's eyes are always upon that land. Okay, and here's a perfect example of that. It says, therefore he had sent lions among them. He's watching the land, watching these heathens do what the heathens do in the Lord's land. So he sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them. And not them slaying the lions slew them. That's what it's talking about. And behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the power of the land. You see, the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. So I want you to grab one of those priests, right? All right, that you brought from out, which when I'm thinking about it now, one of the things that Jeroboam also did was make anybody priest. The priests were the Levites. Well, he was making anybody priest. But nonetheless, it says what it says, though. Okay, bring one of those priests back in the land and show them the way. All right, verse 28. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord Yahweh. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Sepharvites burnt their children in fire to Adremelech and Anamelech, the gods of Sepharvaim. So still the heathens did what they wanted to do, man. Okay, but they had to show what was necessary to quell the anger of the Lord. But they still, went on with their idol worship. So they feared the Lord Yahweh and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests. Okay, and so once the priests got into the land and showed them how to, basically got the lions off their back, showed them how to, what to do while they're in the land, that's when things changed. Okay, because that's what we were just reading there. All right. So it says, so they feared the Lord Yahweh and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. They feared the Lord and served their own gods, after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. See? NLT says, these new residents worship the Lord, but they also appointed from among themselves all sorts of people as priests to offer sacrifices at their places of worship. Remember we talked about the Samaritan women? Okay, talking about worshiping in this mountain and all this that. And that's what they were doing here. And though they worship, and because she wasn't around at this time, she was a descendant of these people here that begin to come into the land. So you have to think about all those years, just like us, for example, all these years you hear about Jewish people, this, that, and the third thing. The whole time, those people, a lot of those people really think they are the Lord's people because that's the history that was told to them all their lives. Meanwhile, we were being told that we were someone else. That's the exact same situation happening here. These people dwelt in our land so long that they really thought that they were the true people of the land. That's why in the New Testament, that Samaritan woman thought that they were the people, and they weren't. She was a heathen who learned our customs. So, and though they worshiped the Lord Yahweh, they continued to follow their own gods according to the religious customs of the nations from which they came. And this is still going on today. They continue to follow their former practices instead of truly worshiping the Lord Yahweh and obeying the decrees, regulations, instructions, and commands he gave the descendants of Jacob, you see, whose name he changed to Israel. There's a great separation right there. You can't make it up. For Yahweh had made a covenant with the descendants of Jacob and commanded them, see, do not worship any other gods or bow down before them or serve them or offer sacrifices to them, but worship only Yahweh, who brought you out of Egypt with great strength and a powerful arm. Bow down to him alone and offer sacrifices only to him. Be careful at all times to obey the decrees, regulations, instructions, and commands that he wrote for you. You must not worship other gods. Do not forget the covenant I made with you, and do not worship other gods. You must worship only the Lord Yahweh, your power. He is the one who will rescue you from all your enemies. But the people would not listen. And continue to follow their former practices. You see. So while these new residents worship the Lord Yahweh, they also worship their idols, and to this day, their descendants do the same. See. And that's the 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, going into the history there. How the northern kingdom went off, why they went off, how they went off, and what happened to them. They went into the Assyrian captivity. Now we're probably gonna end this session here. And what we'll do is pick back up again, continuing on with the same, not the same chapter, but the same topic, because this chapter leads over to where we're going to go next, which is 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. All right, to bring it on home. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Lord willing, you will edify. Shalom.